Hello, welcome back to another runway recreation. It's your favorite ghoul bringing you glam Sierra Mess from RuPaul's Drag Race Season 18. If you're new here, wow, you are kind of late to the party. That is a-okay, there's room for everybody. I'm bringing you videos every week about makeup transformation, horror content, nerddom, all of this good stuff. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that bell to turn on notifications. You don't want to miss it. We're doing some cool stuff over here. And do know what to do. You know what to do. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. This was a very emotional episode for me. Be sure to check out the new video for my talent show. You don't want to miss it. It is a beautiful piece of art. Thank you so much to everybody involved in bringing that to life. And to pay tribute, I'm wearing my Tristan St. Clair shirt. This was designed by my wonderful sister, Madison Avenue. And it was so special to be able to bring a piece of her with me to this experience. We're not going to cry today because we have cried a lot this week and at that time. Today, we're going to be a demon. What a transition. If you want to hear more about designing this look, make sure you check out Behind the Seams. But over here, we are going to be focusing on the makeup. Today is another prosthetic transformation, but it's a lot trickier today. This is not Prosthetics 101. This is not special effects makeup with tissues and cotton. No. We're getting into the details today. Masterclass. Buckle up. So I'm going to go ahead and strip down, get bald, shave my face, and we will get into this process. This is my fabulous appliance from RBFX and Motion Picture Studios. Thank you so much for supplying me with amazing prosthetics all season long. Now, I will say that doing prosthetics for drag sometimes has competing goals. This is a foam latex prosthetic, which means that in order to blend the edges, it's an additive blend. We're going to be adding product like Prosthetic or Bondo in order to seam our edges. To disguise that, when you're painting, you're usually adding texture. However, in drag, we're usually going for a more glam makeup, and we want to minimize texture. We're trying to reduce discoloration or freckles or any of those things. To prep my prosthetic, I'm going to clean the back of it with some isopropyl alcohol, and to prep the area that I'm going to apply, I'm going to do the same thing to make sure it's free of any oils or moisturizers to get the best adhesion. I'm also going to block my beard in the meantime. Next, we're going to go ahead and back our prosthetic and our application area with a little bit of Prosthetic. Y'all have seen this before. It does bear repeating. Work from the center out and work in light layers. That's going to give you the best and cleanest application possible. Also, I don't have eyebrows, but if you do have eyebrows, it is sometimes helpful to cover them with a layer of glue, just to protect those little hairs. And when the Prosthetic is clear, that means it's ready to go. Now, Prosthetic is different than some other adhesives like Telesis, where you can reactivate or put a deadener in it to give yourself a little bit more working time. When the Prosthetic is clear, it's pretty sticky. So the important part about this step is finding the right placement. Now, with drag, I'm usually cheating the prosthetic based on the sculpt that it was intended for. Anything that is like a brow or forehead prosthetic is probably meant to sit here, like on my natural brow, but with drag, we're exaggerating, we're lifting, we're pulling it back. We're trying to feminize, and like, especially with a pretty aggressive piece like this, it can quickly look very masculine. I'm okay with teetering the line of that. Gender is a construct, hello. But I still do want to try and feminize it as much as possible. So, even though it's got this placement for the nose, which would probably sit down here, I'm going to cheat it as much as possible and try and put it up here. Now what you'll notice is, like, by placing it sort of where it's not intended, we're going to get some puckering up here at the top, like a dart essentially, because we're changing how it's supposed to be aligned. Now that is really okay, especially with a piece like this, because I've got a wig that's going to cover the top piece of this. But normally I would not recommend stretching and pulling your prosthetic too terribly. But with an appliance like this, we're going to fudge it how we need to get the look that we want. So I'm going to look a little silly for a little bit while this is just like dangling and flopping around. But I'm going to work the middle to get it how I want, and then around the edge. And we're sort of going to work the inside part first. That's the most important part to me. And then spots like this, we will sort of finesse out either by cutting or folding or stretching or bopping or twisting or pulling. Anyways, enjoy a little just like relaxing music. Now I will add on the show, I applied this so fast and I was multitasking like crazy. We do not have a ton of time to get ready, obviously. So to get head to toe in drag in that time is already stressful enough. And I knew going into this that I wanted to do prosthetics, so I had to try and simplify that process as much as possible, which for the chameleon and some of the other looks that I have, that is not an issue, right? I found a workaround to make that easier. But in appliance like this, where there are edges in the middle of the face, this area right here, oh mama, I was sweating. By brushing into the piece like this, you're gonna fill that gap in, so that way you're painting over it and creating sort of one shelf from your natural skin to the prosthetic. Now, we're not gonna leave it like that, but we are gonna build it up. Bondo has a pretty decent working time, which is good and bad, right? Sometimes you're in a hurry, you want the edge to clear up, especially if you have a thick gap that you need to fill, it's really hard. You definitely have to hit it with a hairdryer or something to get it to dry faster. However, in a situation like this, I can let this side thicken up a little bit so that way I can manipulate it more easily while I'm working on the other side and go back and forth. So now you can see some of it on the edge is starting to clear up, which is good. It means it's curing. So this area on the top, I'm going to start to brush that down. I just like ripped up a piece of a beauty blender so that way it wouldn't have any distinct lines. Normally I would use something like a little sea sponge or a red sponge, exfoliating sponge. I apparently don't have any left right now, so we're making do. But dipping that into some of my liquid Prosthetic, I can start to stipple on a little bit more of a skin texture, so that way this transition feels more organic rather than just brushed on. While this is drying, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the eyes and the forehead area and start seaming those edges. We have got those edges touched up and now it is time to get into the paint. Now, originally with this concept, I was imagining painting my entire body red. We obviously don't know the order of the runways or like how everything is going to be combined with challenges, so you kind of have to mentally prepare for a variety of outcomes, especially if you're doing a very specific makeup look. Going into the project, I had some goals about the types of things I wanted to bring to my runway package. I wanted to have prosthetics. I wanted to have inhuman makeups. I wanted to have Sierra Mister come out. Obviously on this particular day, we were doing 2 makeups. We were doing runway and then talent show. And the time to change was even less than the time to get into drag in the first place. So there was no way that I was gonna be able to go like for an inhuman skin tone on this particular day. I already got to do that on the design challenge, which was something that I wasn't planning for. So I was like, okay, well, I've got other stuff cooking. I don't need to worry about this today. I've got other looks where that'll happen. So today we're just gonna be a skin tone demon. Ultimately, it ended up working out great. Like I remember Darlene and Mikey both telling me they liked the skin tone makeup better than the sketch that I had in my notebook because there was more contrast and it popped more. So it ended up being a happy accident. That said, regardless of the skin tone that I'm painting this, I need to add some like blood tone, warmth, life to the prosthetic. Obviously there's no warmth happening under this piece. It's foam latex, whereas my skin is translucent and there's like red tones and pink tones peeking through. So before we do any sort of skin tone foundation on top of this, we need to add red tone underneath. Sometimes you would do this with like an alcohol-based paint. Sometimes you would use PAX, which is a mix of acrylic and the Prosthetic. Today I'm just going in with some water-activated body paint. We're trying to keep it quick and easy. I'm gonna start with some pinks and then deepen areas with red. Maybe even add a little bit of orange in areas where I feel like I need like that yellow undertone to it. By mixing a variety of colors here, but keeping it a little bit lighter, I think this is going to add a nice natural breakup under the makeup. We'll let this dry down. We'll do just a dusting of powder, just a dusting. And then we can get into the foundation. We are powdered down, and now we can put our skin on. Today we're going to be using mostly Revolution liquid foundations, maybe a little bit of Maybelline Superstay. I want to use liquid foundations that have high coverage but have a little bit of hydration in them, since this whole makeup is rather drying to my skin. Honestly, this should be the tutorial if you have to like cover redness or dark spots. Just like become a demon. I think that's kind of the key. And obviously we're being pretty liberal with our foundation application because we want to make sure we're covering as much of that base layer and all that powder as possible. And I'm sort of following the natural contour of this cheek. Everywhere else I'm sort of just doing my natural drag contour. And then we'll leverage the shapes of the prosthetic in a little bit when we get into like powder and shadow. Alright, that's a decent coverage with the foundation. I'm going to try and lighten up the center of my face. Now creams don't usually blend out super great on prosthetics because they have no warmth under them. It was at this point that she questioned, what are we doing? I would like to move on to eyes so that I can feel like I'm accomplishing something productive. So let's get into this eye makeup. Reds are kind of a tricky color when it comes to makeup. They're usually cool toned, so to warm them up you have to dab an orange over them oftentimes. I'm going to try and use some of my favorite reds and oranges. I'm starting out with the Studio Color Vivid Blush Palette from Ben Nye. What is it called? Soleil Red. Yeah, like hello. So let's define the crease. If I'm so honest, actually, cut the cameras. I don't remember what paint I did for this particular day. There was obviously a lot on my mind, so we're gonna kind of wing it. I remember that this was like a little pinky around the horns. I remember the horns were matching the horns that I have on my head, and the eye makeup I imagine was just like red and black with rhinestones. But you can see the red has like a little bit of a pinky purpley undertone, so that's where the orange will come in handy. Now I'm going to dip into some more like orange reds and try and brighten some of this up. I'm going to dip into a slightly darker red before I go fully into the black eyeshadow area, but I'm just going to deepen and define and boost the contrast of all this. We're back. We figured it out. It was all fine. We just had to clean up the line, and now we have to do it on this side. The eyes are not completely finished. At the end, we're gonna add a bunch of red rhinestones just to really bling this out. But I need to cruise on getting the face figured out. So I'm gonna start with just some traditional contour. So we're gonna dig into our powders and our blushes and all of that and get this face together. And then I'm gonna try and detail some of these horns. Let's start with the blush and the face and the contour and the things that are more comfortable right now. I don't know why I'm afraid of this. I do this all the time. I'm just being silly. I'm just a silly girl. I'll tell you why. It's because I got up at 4:30 this morning. A sleep-deprived drag queen is a working drag queen. You know what I feel like right now? I feel very Born This Way. Just like the nude horns into this. Which, chic could have done that. Good God. They worked last week. Hello. I feel like I need to really carve this out right now, and then I can punch it back with like a neutral, like skin tone setting powder. Gaunt, severe, maleficent. Okay, but perhaps blended. Let's not get crazy here. Let's get into some blush. I'm gonna start in the nose area just because that always really like gets me together. Oh yeah, just the tip. You know what? We're being crazy. Let's go ahead and do the lips. Why not? Then we'll do the blush. What the heck? Let's get real crazy, huh? And I feel like I kind of kept with what Rue asked me to do with my lips, because she liked it, and I liked that she liked it. But again, I don't remember painting that day because we did 2 mugs. Like I remember the talent show butterfly mug more than I remember this one. I think that's a good start. Let me get into some shadow. I might need to make the top lip a little taller. That is looking pretty nice. Okay, the lips are on. Let's go ahead and get some blush on the face. I think we might need to do a little bit of setting spray, just to add some like adhesion, so that way we can blush up this face. Alright, now we're adding some warmth and life. I don't even really know how to describe this Juvia's Place color. It's like, I don't know, like a mustard orange. It's a great blush color. I'm gonna tap just a little bit of yellow powder over this just to blend out into the skin. Let's go in with some reds. That was a little tricky, a little back and forth, a little figuring it out. Now that the face is pretty well put together, we can get into some of the finishing details. So I need to paint all of these horns, and then we're gonna dust the face and the horns with some highlighter, some glitter and all that before we add our rhinestones at the end. So I'm gonna start by tracing out the edge of this horn. Actually, rather than eyeliner, I'm going to use some black body paint. That's going to get me some more control and hopefully a better payoff. And the back of the horn is like the back of a wig. What's back there is none of my business. Okay, love. Now, did I do anything on this? I don't remember. Am I going to do that today? I don't want to go too dark and scary with it because I like this look. It's soft-ish, you know, don't get too close. But I do think that I need to define this. So I'm gonna I mix a little red into this. I don't know about that. Now back there, I'm okay with that. Okay, a little red with a pop of highlight, and that'll sell me on it. I don't know if that's what I had. That's what we're doing today. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Alright, this demon needs to get into the final details. I need to add some like glitter and sparkle and highlighter to bring all of this to life, and then we can get into the rhinestones. Let me see what I've got. Okay, Bitter Lace Beauty highlighter mini coming in absolutely clutch. Wow. Stunning. I'm kind of beautiful. Hello. With those details, we are now ready to get into the rhinestoning. Oh, we are very stoned. I think it's time to get on the lashes. And with the lashes on, the look is complete. Not today, Satin. I feel so gorgeous. I'm glad I had the time today to do this application justice instead of rushing and stressing. Look how nice it looks. But of course, we need to get on the earrings and the jewelry and the wig and the outfit and go take some fabulous photos. Let's get into it.
None of this would be possible without the support of all of my loyal misfits, especially my Patreon subscribers. A huge shout out to my top supporters: Jen Peterson, Allison Darlington, TD, Paige Rauschuber, Jetsam Adams, Ian Miller, Brentley Bitch, Mikey Reichart, Ilana, Discord Adams, Elias Gearing, Brian Starr, Roddick, Maddie D, Caitlin Egan, Togo Moose, Max, Kit St. Clair, Nora B, Zarin Kleitman, Harry and Cindy S, Caitlin, Sadie, Nothing Shy, Crazy Dragon Lady, Pierre Bush, Hales, Richie Kelly, XX Dying Wolf XX, Catherine, Starry Mist, Yo Yo Pee Pee Poo Poo. If you would like a special shout out or behind the scenes access, make sure you subscribe to the CRMS Patreon today.